What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerdventures Tower. Moon Knight Episode 3. It has come. It has went. And I thought it was pretty freaking crazy. I want to talk about the episode, the things I like, some of the things I actually didn't like in the episode. And then I want to talk about some of the teases and theories I have about where this is all going. And there's a couple of things within the episode that may well have huge changing implications for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I want to get into that as well. So first up, the episode itself. Man, I liked this episode, but it wasn't exactly the droid I was looking for.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
I was expecting episode 3 to be much more heavy on the action, but it's another episode that continues in sort of the mysterious narrative, getting bits and pieces of information about the different characters through dialogue and experience. There was also these weird jumping moments again, which actually signified to me, and I think many Marvel fans out there, the possibility of the Jake Lockley persona from Marvel Comics actually being a part of this show. More on that in just a second. But overall, even though we didn't get a ton of crazy Moon Knight action, the action we do get is incredible, and the character development is really cool. Learning more about the hero character, learning more about the gods, learning more about Stephen and Mark, and seeing how that dynamic works together is awesome. I particularly enjoyed the fact that Stephen can somehow take over the body, and he actually takes control of the body during the fight.
That's it. All right, time out. That's it, time out. Guys, let's all calm down, yeah?
And he's the Mr. Knight persona, and then he gets basically shish kebabbed and tells Mark to take back over. I actually found that to be pretty hilarious. There's fun stuff with Layla, her being some kind of a spy, you know, dark market art person, or basically like kind of this philanthropic art dealer. She has some history with Madripoor, possibly even some connections to the power broker, or knows about them, and all that kind of stuff is super fun. However, I didn't love episode 3 just on its own. Like, as an episode, I wasn't like completely wowed. There are things within the episode that wow me, and I'm actually really grateful that there's some really interesting stuff to kind of dive into as far as MCU connections, but I felt like the pacing of the episode was a little bit off. Arthur Harrow just seems to be able to pop up pretty much anywhere. There are weird cuts in the episode that make it feel a little disjointed to me. And I frankly also think that if you're a big fan of just action and you just want to see Moon Knight punching up a bunch of baddies, you may well start to get frustrated with the show at this point. We're halfway through, and it's been, again, just a lot of character development, a lot of dangling of mysteries, and I don't know, I guess, you know, some people probably like it. Some people maybe don't. Now, as far as what is teased out for the characters in the show, there's a lot of interesting development done here. First of all, we get a huge tease of this other side of the persona, perhaps another person that's within Mark Spector, and a lot of people are thinking this is the Jake Lockley character. Now, just like they changed the Stephen Grant character from the comic book version, they're very likely to change the Jake Lockley version from comics into some new version here in the show. And from the context we get in this episode, kind of seems like Jake Lockley maybe some kind of like ruthless killer, or even more violent than Mark Spector, which is pretty wild. There's a subplot introduced by the Arthur Harrow character about Layla's father, and we're all kind of getting a vibe that maybe Mark Spector actually killed Layla's father or did something that led to the death of Layla's father. And again, that kind of seems like maybe it wasn't even Mark. Maybe it was the Jake Lockley character, and some more context for some of the weird stuff we've seen in other episodes will make more sense after we get this reveal. I also think Khonshu, Amit, and just the whole sort of upper pantheon of the Egyptian gods gets way more details explained. Like, there are 9 settings in that scene for the gods, and 2 of the gods are missing and not represented. I've seen many people think this could be Amit, this could be Khonshu, but it's explained in that sequence that the gods decided not to interfere, and they are actually all withdrawn from Earth, and they are in a different realm that is referred to as the Overvoid. And oh baby, do I have some cool stuff to say about the Overvoid from the comics and how this relates to realms like Asgard as well. But important to the Khonshu character is that we learn that Khonshu refused to leave, and from his perspective, refused to abandon humanity. And it's also explained that Khonshu thinks they need more than avatars. They need the gods to return to actually be able to help humanity out. And he makes a claim that if the gods do not return from the overvoid, they risk losing this realm, the realm of Earth. Khonshu also helps them out at the end of the show to try to find Amit's tomb. And you sort of get this sense, even when he's like working with Steven at the end of the show, that we're seeing Khonshu in sort of a different light. They're kind of humanizing him or developing that character to basically have people be more sympathetic to that character. But my personal theory on what is actually going on here is that Khonshu is absolutely choosing Mark as a vessel because he is broken, and I think this has something to do with a beat from the Jeff Lemire run. In that run in Marvel Comics, it's revealed that Khonshu has been involved with Mark from a very young age and was actually trying to break Mark mentally so that he could take complete control of Mark's body. And we've seen a lot of teases and sort of hints of some scenes coming from a mental institution in the different trailers and the rumors that are out there. That again is a part of what is going on in the Jeff Lemire run. And it's sort of all this thing where Khonshu wants the body of Mark isn't exactly a good God at all. And I think the show might do a version of that where Khonshu is actually hiding the Jake Lockley persona even from Mark Spector, perhaps to be able to further manipulate him or completely break his mind to take over Mark's body. Because again, we have it revealed that Khonshu wants more than an avatar. Khonshu wants to return. And so it may well be explained that Khonshu wants to take over Mark's body completely, but he sort of wants to do it for altruistic reasons. He does think that that's the best way to help humanity, so it's going to end up leaving him in a weird, morally gray area. But that's just my theory on it, and I think regardless, we're going to be getting some wild stuff ahead, and I think a lot of these questions will be answered. It's very obvious there's something else going on with Mark. I definitely think the Jake Lockley persona is coming, and I do think that Khonshu's true intentions will be revealed. But let's talk about the juicy stuff in here that has an impact on the MCU. First of all, the gods meeting and taking over their avatars to have that meeting in the Pyramid of Giza was incredible. But the mention of the Overvoid, that was so wild. One of the reasons is because in the comics, the Overvoid is essentially a separate realm from Earth, and there is even something like the Rainbow Bridge that can connect the Overvoid back to Earth. Now, in Marvel Comics, the Egyptian gods that exist in the Overvoid, they can't just come back to Earth. They can't do what the Asgardians can do and jump through the Rainbow Bridge to just come into our realm. That is actually why they use avatars with those particular gods. But the way Khonshu was talking to the other gods at that sort of meeting, it made it seem that they actually could just come back to Earth. And Amit is looking to be actually resurrected and brought back on the earthly plane. But the reason this is so freaking cool is because it really mirrors what's going on with Asgard and the way that that plane would exist and be able to interact with the other realms or the other parts of the multiverse. It seems like the Egyptian gods have something similar, and I would expect that the Olympic gods would have something similar as well. We may well be seeing sort of the establishment of how the hierarchy of gods work and what that actually looks like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I also love that these are other realities that seemingly exist as like pocket dimensions that are in our universe. They're not in a different part of the multiverse, but they're sort of these safe pockety type realms from which the gods can still have influence and observe the comings and goings of the earthly planes. And one must wonder, with Gorr the God Butcher on the way, is he going to be able to go to these different places to slay the gods? As a small aside, we have heard that the rumors for Thor Love and Thunder are that Gorr's going to show up at New Asgard and slay a bunch of gods, and it's probably very likely that he's looking to do that for all of these different different places like the Overvoid or like Mount Olympus, which will again likely be explained as different dimensions within our universe. And all that could even tie into beings like Shuma Gorath or Chthon, because these were beings that were like elder gods that had battles around the time of Earth, and even Chthon himself ends up being sort of stuck or escaping in hibernation in like a different realm, much like the Overvoid or maybe Mount Olympus or whatever. So this seems like it might be a rule that basically has impact on everything else we'll see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then we gotta talk about the end of the episode with Khonshu using Steven and his avatar to literally reverse the stars to go back in time, at least from the perspective of the cosmos. This is absolutely crazy, and it's the final straw for all of the Egyptian gods. They encase Khonshu in stone after this because they're like, bro, we done told you, stop messing with the sky, and you did it again. And I've seen all kinds of people already on social media having wild theories about what this could actually mean. If this indeed is some kind of time travel, it could be screwing up with the multiverse, a la Doctor Strange's spell, causing crazy ramifications. It could even be restoring events or things that were out there in the universe, including the Infinity Stones. I've just heard a lot of speculation on how wild of an event this was and what it means. To me, this is likely going to be the thing that gets the Avengers involved. If Wong becomes involved in this show, if Hulk becomes involved in this show, and this would happen later in the show, it's very likely that this very event was such a big deal that it's causing the Avengers and other people around the planet to go investigate what is going on. It's very much like what happens in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. When Shang-Chi takes control of the Ten Rings, it's like this crazy thing, and they feel it in Kamar-Taj. That makes the Avengers essentially go hunt down Shang-Chi and ask him about the rings. And I think that will similarly happen to Moon Knight if Moon Knight is sort of brought into the wider MCU, a la the Avengers. Something like this, absolutely crazy. Everybody would have noticed this and investigated it. And it's kind of seeming like that is going to be par for the course for recruiting new Avengers. Like at this stage of the MCU, the Avengers that we know of are likely keeping tabs on all these kind of things and then going out there, finding events like this and trying to recruit powerful people to help them protect the world. And of course, all of that's just speculation, but I love that kind of stuff. And this episode really just cooked up a bunch of crazy ideas in my head and made the imagination jump into hyperdrive. So wanted to let you know my thoughts about that. Let me know your thoughts about this episode and what do you expect for the rest of the show. Like this video if you liked it, and come on by our live streaming channel. We'll be chatting about Moon Knight tomorrow. We do behind the scenes streams with our members. We'll be watching like X-Men tonight, fun stuff like that. Go check out the live streaming channel. It's also a great way to support our content. And I hope wherever this video finds you at, that you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.